listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Thursday, September 10th, 2020. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. And we've got a lot to talk about today. So we're going to get right on into it. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. And as usual, we're going to do news until I run out of news. And then we'll be opening up the phone lines for people to call in with their comments, questions, opinions, and so forth and so on here. Now, there's a big stink going on about Bob Woodward's new book about Donald Trump. And a lot of people are wondering why Trump gave him the interviews to begin with, because his previous book was very negative toward Donald Trump either. But basically in there, the claim is made that Donald Trump said he downplayed the COVID-19 pandemic because he wanted to avoid a panic. Now, the Democrats are out there saying, well, this means he lied to the American people. Not necessarily, because when you're saying downplaying to avoid a panic, it's the difference between saying there are going to be 100,000 deaths and it's time for everybody to panic and run in circles versus saying there will be 100,000 deaths and everybody's keep calm because we're on top of it. Because panic doesn't really help anybody. And as long as the numbers are accurate, and back then nobody really knew what the numbers were going to be. Everybody was guessing, and it turned out the guesses were wrong anyway. But Biden is out there saying Trump knowingly and willingly lied, and he's out there campaigning on that, saying it's time to kick Trump out of office. But you need to remember that back when this was all going down, even Biden was saying, no, it's not going to be a big deal. And the Democrats were out there with him saying, it's not going to be that big a deal. And, Woodward had Trump on tape saying, I always play it down. And I don't disagree with what Trump did, because as a leader, part of his job is to keep the nation calm and moving forward to deal with the problems, not incite panic and have everybody running around and screaming, which is what the Democrats are trying to do here. And Trump is calling Bob Woodward's book a hit job. But Donald Trump has accused Joe Biden of not taking COVID-19 seriously back in February, telling Fox News that he himself was determined to show calm and not be jumping up and down and scaring people. And I agree with him on that one here. Okay, now the bombshell about Trump downplaying the coronavirus turns out not to be a bombshell. It's another nothing burger, because Trump said this publicly back in March. And, he was out there saying, he knew the coronavirus could be horrible, and I knew it could be maybe good. I don't want to be a negative person. It'd be so much easier for me to come up and say, we have bad news. We're going to lose 220,000 people, and it's going to happen over the next few weeks. And that was back in April. So this is not new news. But the Democrats are trying to turn it into a major, major issue. Now, Trump had an interview with Fox News Channel's Hannity and said, he downplayed the virus in public in his own words, saying that, he's a cheerleader for the country and he doesn't want to see panic. And again, I agree with that. I absolutely do agree with that here. So a lot of people are asking, in fact, I'm looking at this article that came out, womensystems.com, why on earth did President give Watergate reporter the bombshell interviews? Now, Donald Trump is said to have given Bob Woodward his personal cell phone number in a bid to win him over during late night calls. But the president would sometimes unburden himself while interviewing for the journalist's new book. That was a bad move. That was definitely a bad move. It turns out Lindsey Graham is the one who convinced President Trump to sit with Bob Woodward for his new anti-Trump book. Now, Bob Woodward himself is dismissing claims that he could have saved lives if he'd published Trump's COVID-19 comments earlier, because he didn't know where the president was getting his information or if it was true. This is obviously timed to impact the election. Okay, former U.S. Attorney Joe DiGenova on last week's Atlantic hit piece. My guess is that two of the anonymous sources are Eric Ciaramella and Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman of impeachment fame. That turned out to be another hit piece. Okay. Donald Trump tells a North Carolina rally the rioters, anarchists, and looters will take over if Biden wins, and it will be an insult to our country if Kamala Harris is the first female president. Well, first of all, the rioters, anarchists, and looters will not take over if Biden wins. If Biden wins, they're all going to go home because the paychecks are going to stop. Okay. Now, Zuckerberg is out there saying the election may take weeks and cause civil unrest until the media creates a consensus on the next president. Now, Zuckerberg stressed that Facebook is preparing Americans to accept the election results, and it may take weeks after November 3rd to be tabulated, giving the Democrats plenty of opportunity to come up with more mail-in ballots. And he explained that Facebook will add informational context to posts by any candidate who attempts to declare victory in an election before a media consensus result has been established. In other words, Zuckerberg is saying, we're going to let the corporate media choose the next president, because they can't trust the Supreme Court to do the right thing, which means appoint Biden here. Another article coming on out of allnewspipeline.com, Democrats prepping for doomsday scenario in secret meetings. Radical liberal organizations preparing for election loss with mass public unrest, which means if Biden loses, yes, the riots and looting will continue. So the liberal website Daily Beast recently published an article which described the preparations that dozens of liberal groups are planning should President Trump win re-election. Yet the spin throughout the article completely ignores history, shows these groups are planning unrest should Trump win the Electoral College, claims that conservatives will take certain actions that to date only liberals have taken, and it has been well documented with video proof they did so. Assumes throughout the whole article that Joe Dementia Biden wins in all scenarios, and discusses how these left-wing liberal groups are actively preparing mass public unrest should the election not go their way. What are they planning on doing? Simply having riots until Trump steps down? It hasn't worked out too well with Lukashenko, has it? Or Maduro, for that matter. But it looks like they're using the same playbook here in the United States of America. Okay, there's another article along the same lines. This is coming out of FortRuss.com. Soros Election Integrity Group prepares to oust President Trump no matter who wins. And this Soros-backed election integrity group is setting the stage for a revolution against President Trump after November's election. The Transition Integrity Project, which is an organization featuring a bipartisan group of Trump haters, is claiming that Donald Trump will cause violence if he disputes the upcoming election results. They are running simulations that they claim indicate that Trump and his supporters will create mayhem. He doesn't have a reason to do that if he wins, does he? Okay, over in San Francisco, the owner of the salon where Nancy Pelosi had her mask-free blowout reveals she's closing the salon now because she's too scared to do business in San Francisco following multiple death threats and menacing phone calls from Nancy's fan base, I presume here. Another article, this one's coming out of stationgossip.com. Laws are just not for the little people, or aren't just for the little people. There's a petition that has 16,000 signatures demanding Nancy Pelosi be prosecuted for the COVID violations after getting her hair done in a San Francisco salon without a mask. And she should be prosecuted. Those are the rules in San Francisco. Okay, turning to the civil unrest that's out here, protesters breached 2 lines of police barricades in Rochester's on the 8th night of protest in Daniel Prude's death, as 2 demonstrators are hit with federal charges for throwing fireworks and attacking cops with a shield. Still out there. Portland's still dealing with it. They're now over 100 days straight of these protests and riots going on here. All right. There's an inquiry. This is COVID-19 news now. There's an inquiry beginning into AstraZeneca's vaccine trial. And the problem is one of their test subjects has developed a serious neurological condition as an adverse effect. And they want to make sure this is really related to the vaccine trial and didn't just happen by itself, coincidence. And said the step for the inquiry ought to be reassuring to the general public. The results of the safety review, to be conducted by an independent board of experts, will help determine if the participants' condition was a reaction to the vaccine candidate or merely coincidental, and are expected to heavily influence whether and when trials might resume. Now, we got a report there was a second adverse reaction, not as serious, but still an adverse reaction here. The United States is planning to end COVID-19 screenings for arriving international airline passengers and won't require them to land at 15 designated airports. They're opening up air travel again here. All right. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo says indoor dining can start again in New York City from the end of September at 25% capacity, just one day after saying he wouldn't allow it. There was a huge backlash. There's a lawsuit involved where he's being sued by all the restaurant owners. But even at 25% capacity, it's going to be very hard for these restaurants to stay in business. They're designed to basically serve 80 to 90% capacity, and that's what their financials are based on. So it's a slower death. Andrew Cuomo is out there saying Trump caused the coronavirus outbreak in New York. I mean, the lies are just, coming here. Over in Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot is joining Los Angeles leaders to limit Halloween trick-or-treating this year. It's a shame to me. I mean, everybody's already got their masks. Over in Nevada, the Trump rallies are being canceled due to the Democrat governor's coronavirus restrictions. The venues are calling up the Trump campaign and saying, we can't do this anymore. Donald Trump says he's still planning a Nevada campaign trip despite the venue cancellations. So where they're going to go, I don't know, but he's basically going to still travel to Nevada and try and get out there. Here's a story about how money really affects everything here. One doctor in Austin, Texas, literally got a taste of his own medicine after going to his own practice to get a COVID antibody test, assuming he would get one for free because he worked for the company. His insurance instead wound up getting a bill from Physicians Premier ER for $10,984. Now, his insurance did pay it all, but still, $10,000 for an antibody test? All about the money. All about the money. The doctor in question, Dr. Zachary Sussman, became so angry he quit his job, according to ProPublica. Now, the parent company of Sussman's insurer is investigating the case. Sussman was working part-time at 4 Physicians Premier ER centers, making $4,000 per month to oversee antibody testing. The job was a temporary gig between permanent jobs in Austin and New Mexico. All righty. Biden is claiming more than 6,000 members of the U.S. military died from the coronavirus. The actual number is 7. Now, Quebec City is saying it will isolate uncooperative citizens in a secret corona facility. Authorities in Quebec City, Canada have announced they will isolate uncooperative citizens in a new facility, the location of which remains a secret. And apparently there was a case where patrons at a bar were ordered to wait until their COVID-19 test came back, but disregarded the command and left the premises before the results came back positive. This led to them being deemed uncooperative and forcibly interned in that quarantine facility. So the gulags are back. All righty. Now, just to show you how the corrupt take care of their own, this is from Russia Today. Democrats and Republicans agree. Politicians and corporations should be spared from prosecution over the killer COVID-19 care homes. Republican and Democrat politicians both have embraced legislation to immunize themselves and their deep-pocketed corporate donors from legal liability for ill-thought-out pandemic policies blamed for the death of thousands. Republicans in the Senate have all but plagiarized a controversial provision from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo that will offer legal immunity to corporations that ran the care homes in which hundreds of thousands of elderly Americans died with the coronavirus over the last 6 months. According to a trio of progressive journalists who compared the text and interviewed some of the lobbyists who wrote the polarizing messages for the politicians in their pockets. So we've all been hearing about how these care homes became COVID death centers. And now they're saying nobody will be sued. They're being indemnified. Australian government's own website is admitting that COVID tests are totally unreliable. They're saying the Therapeutic Goods Administration claims there's little evidence to assess the clinical utility of PCR or blood tests. We know there's a lot of false positives and a lot of false negatives. Now, over in Sweden, experts are claiming vindication on COVID. Positive coronavirus test rate hits its lowest level yet, with only 1.3% of Swedes who are swabbed found to have the virus, despite an increase in testing. They're testing more and still getting lower results. So it looks like they had the right idea over there. Getting into other news here, if this is an article coming out of Scoopy Web. If Charles Manson can get a fair trial, so can Ghislaine Maxwell. Lawyers for Virginia Giuffre, I think it is, reject a claim by Epstein Madam that releasing documents would wreck her trial. I think releasing the documents would be embarrassing to a lot of people. All righty. Over in Hollywood, they have really gone off the edge of the cliff mentally. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has issued a dictum, if you will, that any contenders for Best Picture have to pass a diversity test. And when the films are being submitted for consideration, they have to fill out this form from the Academy that says, we have so many of this race and so many of that race and so many women and so many transgenders and so many whatever. And a lot of people are speaking out saying this is absolutely ridiculous because a lot of very well-made movies may get sidelined because they don't meet the LGBTQ requirements here. But in this article, they have this suggestion. Imagine an epic World War II film where Brad Pitt plays a Nazi general and Hitler is played by Denzel Washington. You know, there's a joke that's been running around Hollywood for a few years saying they couldn't remake Moby Dick because there are no roles for women. The colored actors are always in subordinate positions and it shows cruelty to animals. Anyway, over at Vanderbilt, they had a quiz on the Constitution, and students who said that the Constitution was not designed to perpetuate white supremacy were marked as wrong. So this conservative student organization has flagged this quiz at Vanderbilt University where students were asked, was the Constitution designed to perpetuate white supremacy and protect the institution of slavery? Any student who answered false was marked wrong by the professor. The class is taught by professors Josh Clinton, Yoonjin Kim, John Meacham, and Dean John Greer, entitled PSCI 1150 U.S. Elections 2020. Now, Meacham is a regular guest on MSNBC and CNN and other networks, as well as a contributing editor for the New York Times Book Review. So the faculty would only accept true as a correct answer. At the very least, it's a subjective analysis. They're enforcing doctrine with the grades here. So one of the things about college degrees, you don't get one by being an independent thinker. You get one by convincing the teacher that you're going to go along with the dogma that's been fed to you the entire semester. Out in California, the wildfires continue to rage, at least 7 dead, including a boy 12 years old and his grandmother, as more than 200 wildfires rage across California, Oregon, and Washington. And I heard a late report that apparently a 1-year-old was killed when his family's truck was caught in the fire. The parents are in the hospital with serious burns. Apparently, the fires have decimated an area the size of Connecticut. All right, turning to the international news, NATO begins military maneuvers in the Barents Sea. NATO has stepped up its activities in the neutral waters of the Barents Sea, raising tensions in the Arctic region. In just one day, Russian pilots escorted 3 military planes, 1 Norwegian and 2 British. One of the British planes was headed specifically for the Russian border when it was identified and escorted by the Russian fighter MiG-29, which caused discontent among the Russian military and the politicians. Aerial maneuvers in the region were intense and revealed a new stage in the operations of the Western Military Alliance in the vicinity of the Arctic. Commenting about the incidents, Russian Defense Minister Shoigu stated that while NATO training flights near Russian borders are not new, the nature of the flights has changed. Okay, we're going to take a break here for some commercials, and we'll be back after these few words.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network is in the middle of a perpetual fundraiser, and we need your help to keep on doing what we're doing. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. Well, in addition to the NATO exercises in the Barents Sea, we're moving into a new Cold War, and I do mean cold. British fighter jets, a warship, and a U.S. destroyer have deployed to the Arctic Circle amid concerns that Russia is exploiting new shipping lanes that are emerging as the ice caps melt. Well, without getting into a discussion about how much the ice caps are melting, because remember, Al Gore said the Arctic was going to be ice-free some years back, and it didn't happen. It's their territorial waters, and if they can run shipping through there, it's really not our business to say, but obviously it would give them a tremendous financial advantage to be able to export products to Europe through a northern route rather than having to go down through the south and around Asia up through the Suez Canal and so forth and so on. So how the United States intends to discourage Russia from using these new shipping routes remains to be seen here. All right, Belarus will go to war in case of a Western country's aggression against Russia, according to Belarusian President Lukashenko. Should someone try to carry out an act of aggression against Russia through Belarus or near Belarus, our 60,000 to 65,000 strong army will go to war because the West is our zone of responsibility in accordance with the Collective Security Treaty and the Union State Treaty, Lukashenko said. And the Russian group which supports us is to join us to repel an aggression from the West under the plan. It is our zone of responsibility. If something like that happens in the Western direction, north or south of us, we will hurry to defend Russia. Everybody's picking sides here. There's been a huge fire that broke out in the remains of Beirut's port just weeks after that huge explosion wrecked the area, and huge column of smoke seen by traumatized citizens rising from the port Thursday. A store of oil and tires are burning, and firefighters have rushed to the blaze. Okay. Indian and Chinese troops man remote Himalayan outposts just hundreds of meters apart. Tensions are building there as well. Indian and Chinese troops were facing off Wednesday, barely 100 meters apart in a remote Himalayan region where shots were fired for the first time in decades. The nuclear-armed neighbors have accused each other of firing in the air during a fresh flare-up in the Ladakh region on Monday, violating long-standing protocols to avoid using firearms along their undemarcated borders. Okay. Apparently, PLA bombers have been pictured close to the troubled region. Images released by Central Theater Command show at least 3 Xi'an H-6 bombers at a base thought to be in Tibet. Western Theater Command says its troops took part in a live-fire air defense exercise in a northwestern desert believed to be Xinjiang. China appears to have deployed strategic bombers close to its border with India amid ongoing skirmishes between the two countries. Okay, October surprise. Satellite photos indicate that North Korea may be preparing a ballistic missile test. While Sino-U.S. relations are set to dominate the Southeast Asia Summit on Wednesday, I presume that means next Wednesday, foreign ministers of 10 Southeast Asian countries could discuss the recent North Korean ballistic missile activity that suggests a launch could be nearing. New commercial satellite imagery of North Korea's Sinpo South shipyard, first revealed by the Center for Strategic International Studies, shows the rogue nation could be preparing to test fire a, let me see if I can get this right, Pukguksong 3 submarine-launched ballistic missile from a submersible test stand barge. CSIS wrote, activity is also noted around the static test stand on the south side of the Sinpo South shipyard, where vehicles or equipment appear to be positioned around the rail-mounted service stand and test stand strong arm used to raise a launch tube or missile into the vertical position for testing. Similar activity has been seen in the past, both for maintenance and before ejection tests. All right, Chinese fighters have entered Taiwan's airspace after missile tests. With military tensions surrounding Taiwan already on the rise, the island decided this would be a good time to conduct a series of missile tests from several areas. This sparked an immediate reaction from China in the form of multi-role fighter jets. The Defense Ministry reported the planes entered Taiwanese airspace early Wednesday, but that Taiwanese planes intercepted them and chased them back out of the area. China sent Sukhoi 30 and J-10 fighters. No serious incidents were reported. Now, here's an interesting story and one that we have to pay attention to. China is the world's biggest shipbuilder, and its ability to rapidly produce new warships would be a huge advantage in a long fight with the U.S. Remember, it was only last week that we had spokespeople for the U.S. Navy saying that China's already ahead of us in the number of ships they have in their Navy, and apparently with their shipbuilding capability, they're able to maintain that lead. But China has this edge over the U.S. in shipbuilding, and it could give the country an advantage in a protracted conflict in which both sides see heavy losses at sea. We have to take another break for commercials. We're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines, 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly,
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Horowitz. I was right 30 years ago in warning the world about threatening lab virus outbreaks, AIDS, and Ebola. I was right 20 years ago when FBI Director Robert Mueller made me a suspect in the anthrax mailings because I warned the Bureau before the CIA's biocrime and Cipro sales psyops happened. I was right about COVID-19 being an AIDS-laced mutagen planned to resurge this fall to excuse officials' profitable depopulation globalization agendas. And I was right about the only safeguards being antioxidants and holy spiritual sustenance. Vitamin C, D, zinc, chlorophyll, oxygen, and oxysilver especially transmits the frequency resonance to neutralize the expanded function bioweapon. Oxysilver is a double superconductor of the healing power of love. It is the first nutraceutical invented to amplify prayer power and the faithful, loving intention of your heart. Buy, try, and stockpile Oxysilver through healthyworldstore.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate. I want to do just what I...
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go to the phones to Daniel in British Columbia. Hello, Daniel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Oh, hi, Michael. Yeah, just wanted to say a word about Richard Gage. He was amazing, and his work. I mean, this guy's a true American treasure as far as I'm concerned. And one of your callers, it seems every year around this time, you get these callers that kind of stir up the kookify pot, you know? And
yes.
I don't know, it just seems like the memory of these 3,000 people that perished deserve better than that. And I don't know, we've got a word in Canada for people like that. They're called goofs. I don't know if you have the same word. But yeah, that's Bruce in Texas guy. He's phoned a couple of times on different RBM broadcasts, and he's always got some outlandish things that just kind of irks me.
Yeah.
On another note, sort of connected to 9/11, Kamala Harris used to date Willie Brown.
Okay.
Who's a politician in California. He was the mayor of San Francisco, and then he was on some other Senate committees and so forth. But he got a message or a warning from his airport security detail, that was his quote, to not fly on 9/11.
Yes.
So as far as Kamala Harris is, I mean, she's an insider because, he's an insider. If he got that kind of warning from his quote, airport security people, which in my in estimation would be ICTS, someone at ICTS, the Israeli-owned airport security firm that runs airport security all over the planet.
Yes.
That's probably who gave him the heads up. So she's definitely an insider if she's close to him. So I just thought I'd add that, and I'll let you get on to your the rest of your show. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. Actually, there were quite a few people who received warnings not to fly on not always specifically 9/11, but just to stay off of commercial airlines for the first part of September. And I'm blanking on the name, but there was one senator who started taking private charter flights during that whole period. Anyway, thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. A total of 79 Israeli strikes have targeted Syria over the past 32 months, destroying 250 targets, a war monitor reported on Wednesday. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said it had documented the strikes from the beginning of 2018 until the beginning of September 2020. The British-based watchdog group said the Israeli strikes had killed 509 people, destroyed 250 targets, including weapons depots, buildings, and military hardware. Northrop Grumman has announced it has landed a major defense contract to lead in developing America's ground-based strategic deterrent program. Basically, it's a new ICBM, and the contract is worth $13.3 billion with a B. And it's a contract to build the Pentagon's next-generation ICBM, crucial in nuclear deterrence. A Northrop Grumman press release said that a team nationwide will include over 10,000 engineers. Scientists and technicians will spend 8.5 years building the new missile with an expected operational goal of 2029. Both congressional Democrats as well as arms control groups have remained fierce critics. Former Defense Secretary William Perry said in a statement in association with the nuclear nonproliferation group Plowshares Fund, subsequently cited in The Hill, the highest probability of starting a nuclear war is a mistaken launch caused by a false alarm and a rushed decision to launch nuclear-armed ICBMs. And there have been false alarms in the past. As a matter of fact, the movie War Games was based on a true incident where somebody fed a training tape into the command center and the message that it was a training exercise didn't get put out, and they almost went to war with Russia there. And John Badham, of course, used that and added the outside character, the kid hacking in. All right, we're going to take another phone call from Miles in Maine. Hello, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, aloha, Michael. I was just responding. A few days back, I heard Dan from Washington. And, he had mentioned some cities and some stuff. I believe he mentioned Detroit. And I just wanted to remind him, if you know the history of Detroit, there's never been nothing like it and never will be on this earth again. Detroit in the 70s, the wages were like $18 an hour and above for factory jobs, GM, Ford, Chrysler. Those are just a few of them, just a small few of what they produced. Then they produced all the little fastener shops that hired families, wages at $16 an hour, full benefits, no 401k, a full retirement, full benefits. It was the land of Jimmy Hoffa, Motown. There's never been anything like it. Like I said, Motown. And the list just goes on and on. The tremendous stars, the quality of living, the number one school system in the country, Time Magazine, Willow Run. I mean, we couldn't have won World War II without Detroit, and we wouldn't have done too well in World War I either.
Yes.
And I think people forget that. And what we see and what we saw in the late 60s, early 70s, and the demise and the destruction of Detroit is you're seeing the modern day, what it would be in those days, Antifa and Black Lives Matter, that Marxist, socialist, communist movement that led to Detroit's destruction. But you're talking about the top economy on earth. I mean, General Motors, I'm trying to think of, was it McNamara or Johnson or somebody said the way the U.S. goes is the way that GM goes. At one time, GM was like 1/6 of the economy by themselves. And that's not even to consider Ford, Chrysler, and at the time was probably American Motors. Detroit was just a business kingpin, home of Henry Ford. It was just unbelievable. And there'll never be anything like that. And if we lose this nation to those same people that we lost Detroit to, there'll never be anything like this on earth again either. And that's all I wanted to say, Michael. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Dan in Washington State. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, thanks for taking the call. About Richard Gage, I thought that was a great guest. I had a question. You may know that I didn't get a chance to answer him or ask him.
Yeah.
As far as the nanothermite, where
Yes.
did they test the steel beams that were kind of look like they're cut at an angle? Did they actually test those for the nanothermite, or were they allowed to?
They were not allowed to. I mean, the steel was basically gathered up, and except for a section that was used for the bow of a new warship, it was all shipped off to China to be recycled. And they found the nanothermite in the debris underneath those load-bearing beams, but the beams themselves were never subjected to any testing.
That's a shame right there. That is evidence of a cover-up right there, that they didn't allow or test any of that. Now nanothermite, I'll research it on my own, but can it be like painted on, like a coating, kind of
Yes,
like?
it can. All you need is some kind of a binder, and yes, it can be painted on.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Joe in Tennessee. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Is that me?
That's you.
Oh, sorry. I had an issue with my phone. Yeah, Al Franken also got the I think he called it the Jew call in his book. I actually bought his book just because I realized that after a while they're going to go around and destroy history. That's what communists, Marxists always like to do. And so I bought his book just so that I always have a record in print that here is a guy that at the time he wasn't a senator, but he became a senator. And he admitted to getting a call from Ed Koch to tell him not to fly on airplanes on 9/11. So that ought to tell you something. They clued all their little kosher friends in on all this, but meanwhile they let a lot of people, be slaughtered that day.
Well, you remember the story about Odigo, right?
About who?
Odigo was this Israeli-owned instant messaging company, and their New York office, which was just a few blocks away from the World Trade Center, some of their employees were notified, get out of there before the airplanes involved in 9/11 had even left the ground. And apparently they trapped the IP where the messages originated. The FBI took it, and that was the last we ever heard of it.
Well, that's what the FBI does. It covers up the crimes of
Yes.
of the power structure. I mean, that's whenever the FBI arrives somewhere, unless it's somebody that's guilty that they want to hang, then they'll reconstruct everything. Otherwise, they destroy evidence. That's their job. They did it at Waco. They did it at Oklahoma City. They did it at 9/11. Anytime the kosher mafia or the WASP mafia or the establishment are involved in a criminal act against this country, that's what they do. They show up and they destroy the evidence, and then they say everything's under investigation, so nobody can investigate anything and no information is released. I listened to Alex Jones a bit, and the other day he was trying to fearmonger about, and if Trump wins and what's going to come is they'll burn Washington D.C. The riots, they'll destroy Washington D.C. and I'm thinking, great. I mean, I don't understand why as a populist American firster should be, I hate to see any innocent people in the city get hurt, but personally, I think everybody with any brain should be getting out of any major city right now, Democratic-controlled city. But, I mean, if Antifa and Black Lives Matter want to burn Washington to the ground like the British did, I'm all for it. I'll sit here with popcorn and cheer. I mean, I'm sorry, but Washington, D.C. is a cesspool.
I don't know. There's a lot of really cool museums in Washington, D.C., which I have yet to see, but it's on my bucket
list. I guess
list.
There's an art museum and the Smithsonian, and I hate to see the Spirit of St. Louis get injured. But my point is that, maybe that's what Washington, D.C. needs as a wake-up call. Maybe K Street, they can limit the damage to K Street where all the lobbyists are.
Yes.
And it reminds me of a great American. I don't know what happened to Bill White. He was a National Socialist. And what he did back in the 90s was he had a protest where he went to Toledo with a bunch of white nationalists. And then the blacks went crazy and burned half the city to the ground. And I think what Bill White showed is the real weakness in the left in these Antifa, and it's why the FBI is coming out and saying why white supremacists are so dangerous and white nationalists, because smart white nationalists don't have to do anything. They can just trigger the savage BLMs and the savage Antifa to do all the actual damage. I mean, Bill White showed the way. If you really want to, because, these leftist nihilist, New World Order, George Soros type, they want to use the mob. Well, the mob can be hijacked, and Bill White showed that. And that, I think, is why you hear them kind of pre-programming the propaganda to try to blame the right for these riots. Because to tell you the truth, if the right is smart, they will provoke these riots, and just get out of the way. Have a protest against black crime and disappear before they can hurt you, and let them burn the whole city down. It's not you burning the city down. I mean, I don't know if there's anything illegal in doing that, because you're not actually doing anything criminal. So I'd like to give a salute to Bill White and tell him that some of us haven't forgotten his stratagem, his genius. And it's appreciated and should be considered in these times, because these are radical times, and the heat keeps getting turned up, and it appears to be getting turned up on one side only. And we can use that steam generated from that heat for our causes if we direct it properly. And that's what Bill White showed people. I don't know, Bill White's probably in prison, I'm sure. I wouldn't doubt that at all, because how the government works. One quick thing I'd like to comment on is all this stuff with Trump, coming out with that phony Atlantic story. Anybody that believes that should really, take a lesson in. And I watch him and I get angry because I hear the reporters at the press conference treat him with such
Hello, Joe?
And he's a genius when it comes. Yes.
We lost you for a second.
And I realize that. Oh, I'm sorry. But I think my ear, sometimes I hit the off button or the mute button. But anyway, I realize that Trump is playing the media. He's letting them ask him rude questions, and then he takes it because it backfires on them. I think personally he'd probably like to go smack these guys in the mouth. And what I've always said is, why does he let these people back? But then I realize he's becoming like Teflon, or there's nothing that they can say to him now. They've so discredited themselves with their open hostility towards him that I think a lot of people, even people that don't like Trump, are getting to the point where, come on, I mean, give the guy a break, So I think this is part of Trump's genius. I tactically, I think he's doing this on purpose. So he kind of comes out. I wouldn't even doubt this whole thing with Woodward is such a joke. Do you know, everybody's talking about Trump not panicking the country, which he should do as president. I mean, the president's like a pilot. You don't tell the people, hey, we're going to crash. You say, all right, be prepared, whatever. You don't get people panic. But meanwhile, in that book, they're talking about James Mattis trying to have a coup, 25th Amendment coup against Trump, and nobody's talking about that. To me, that James Mattis should be arrested, and all the people that he talked to should be arrested. I guess Rosenstein was involved, and a whole lot of the Trump people were involved in this. So this book, they're all talking about Trump and not, maybe, not panicking the people, underrating the danger. But meanwhile, you actually had a legitimate, attempted overthrow of our constitutional republic. And the media doesn't want to talk about that. I mean, James Mattis should be arrested right now and sent to Gitmo, and he should be, he should be forced to tell everybody that was involved, that he talked to, and that were trying to orchestrate this coup against our government. I mean, we're not a third world country. At least I didn't think we were.
No. We seem to be headed that way. Listen, Joe, I'm going to have to let you go. We got to take another break for commercial.
Thank you.
We got another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the Energy Cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an Energy Cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an Energy Cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an Energy Cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
The Republic Broadcasting Network late night premiere show Red Pill Hardcore is hosted by activists that want to hear from you, the listeners. So that you can get involved in the activism, please call in at 800-313-9443 at 10 p.m. to enter the discussion. To book yourself as a guest, call our studio at 202-657-5715 or contact RBN staff. Remember, keep it real and take the Red Pill.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children children alike.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
I just wanted to, well, first off, I find Tom's calls from Tennessee, or Joe's calls, they're almost always interesting. But one of the things that he talked about was the Mattis coup thing.
Yes.
That Rosenstein was involved with. I remember talking with you about this a couple months ago, Mike, when Trump they were demonstrating Antifa and BLM right outside the White House and getting pretty violent to the point where they evacuated the White House. You remember?
I remember that.
And of course, it's the mayor of the city is a black Democrat woman, and there is no National Guard, since it's not a state.
Yes.
So Trump talked about calling in at that point federal troops, which I guess is apropos for a federally controlled area like Washington, D.C. And Esper and I think Milley, the Army Chief of Staff, said no. You remember that? They said no.
Yes.
Now, that was a perfectly legal thing to do for Trump to do that. It's a federal area to protect federal property, and there is no National Guard alternative. And yet they weighed in specifically to say it was inappropriate, and frankly, it was not inappropriate. And so, this revelation with Mattis is, and I think we talked about it back then, we're not even sure we can trust the military chain of command in this country anymore. And it's especially concerning when they have masses of demonstrators 70 or 80 yards away from the White House, and at any given time all at once they could just surge forward and it would be a real mess. So that was the one thing. I also, when I called in yesterday for the gentleman who was excellent, but I find it less interesting, frankly, to talk about the physics or the chemistry or the melting temperature of steel or all that stuff. Listen, we know this was a fix. We know this was what happened. I don't have to be told the scientific facts. I want to hear who did it and how they did it. And that's when I call it and I asked about the dancing Israelis, the urban moving systems, Silverstein, Daniel Lewin, the Sayeret Matkal guy on one of the planes.
Yes.
Chertoff, the Israeli art students, all the myriad of things that connect them. And yet we know that they came down and it stinks to high heaven. I want to know, I want people to talk about, point fingers at who. So, Odago, as you were saying as well, all this stuff. And I think that Joe said something about Koch, Mayor Koch or whatever his name is, being told not to fly.
Peter, I'm going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. We're going to take a break for station identification. I'm going to come right back to you. We'll be right back after these few words.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single-family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cachingproperty.com. That's cachingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're talking with Peter in Los Angeles. And Peter, if you could just pick up where you left off.
Well, I was talking about all the Israeli connections, the pointing fingers at who did this, Cheney and the deep state guys, but a lot of the Israelis. And another thing to point out was that both Portland, Maine, and Boston, Logan, the security there was handled by Israeli companies.
Yes,
but Marvin
ICTF.
Bush or whatever handled the security for the towers, right?
Right.
Silverstein, all these guys with the, but to get back to one more point, just this week, Trump had, I think, the courage to say, finally, that the generals and the military in this country, the high command, has an interest in more wars. He came right out and said that, right?
Yes.
This week, and remember what we just talked about, the chain of command, about Mattis and about Milley and about Esper, and then remember also that the secret police, the whole national security structure, not only the military, but the secret police structure like NSA and CIA and Department of Justice and FBI, they were involved in the coup against him as well. Right? I mean, they were actively involved, and they can't see guys like Brennan and Comey and Clapper. They can't even possibly think about a Trump victory because they might be held accountable. But also, so might their institutions, the FBI itself, the DOJ itself, CIA itself, because they jumped the reservation so criminally, so completely, in inserting themselves in the democratic process in 2016 and after, that honestly, if it was held up to the light of day, they should be all blown up. And so they cannot see this president get reelected because they might be in prison trouble, or even institutional survivability could be in question. And so all the stuff about Antifa and all that, which is another CIA instrument, right? Soros, yes. Another CIA instrument. I mean, all this comes into play, Mike. And I again, I don't see us making it past December without a shooting civil war.
Well, it's a very dire prediction, and I hope you're wrong, but it does feel like we're headed toward a crisis of some kind.
Man, I hope not too, Mike. But wow, there's a confluence of a lot of events.
Yes.
The fact that all these people are going to be unemployed and kicked out of their homes and their apartments, their cars will have been repossessed. The end of the relief from the government, perhaps. I mean, it's the whole racial aspect of it. It's the perfect storm. So,
yeah, it is.
Anyway.
It doesn't seem like there's a smooth way out of this mess right now.
Yeah, no, neither side is gonna acquiesce to a victory by the other. And the Democrats didn't do it in 2016, and they're primed to do it this time. The Republicans won't allow, because of the mail and the vote fraud, that they can clearly see in the brown shirt tactics of the Democrats that are right in your face. When you can go to BLM and there's a direct link to the Biden for President campaign finance thing, which, by the way, there is. Did you know that?
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that. So, anyways, Mike, that's it. I know there's a lot of guys on the line, and thank you for letting me talk.
Not a problem there, Peter. We're going to let you go here and switch over to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. Actually, Peter's wrong. Washington, D.C. does have a National Guard. And in fact, reading right off of the, you just Google it, does Washington, D.C. have a National Guard? And I always knew that because I was in the National Guard myself. And the D.C. National Guard is always considered a special status because they report directly to the president. It says here the D.C. National Guard is the only National Guard unit out of all 54 states and territories which reports only to the president. So that's why I don't understand why Trump doesn't, activate them when they're he could do it. I mean, that's what he's supposed to do. He's in charge. He's, in other words, no governor. The mayor of WDC doesn't control him. He does. So there you go. I mean, I don't understand that because there's another one of the things Trump doesn't do, and you can't understand why he doesn't do it. He's probably just getting bad advice like he did with Mattis. And by the way, the whole deal with Mattis and according to Roger Stone, all these guys that, they're all ex-military guys that tried to screw Trump around. Mattis, Kelly, the chief of staff, and who was the other one that McMaster. According to Roger Stone, it was Steve Bannon that recommended all those guys. I don't know if that's true or not, but Steve Bannon's, I guess, kind of in trouble now, too. I don't know what the deal is with Steve Bannon. I never did like that guy. I kind of, nothing about him that, to me, he always seemed like he might be on cocaine. I don't know. But, which way, I mean, because he's in the movie business and all that, so maybe he was. I don't, maybe not, but anyway,
Not
yeah.
everybody in the movie business is doing cocaine. Just want to share that little insight with you. Most of us can't afford it.
The way he talked when he was like, when I tried to listen to him on a talk show and stuff, he just sounded so, I don't know, something about him that just was not likable. Not sure it's cocaine, but I'm just saying that
yes,
there's something weird about that guy. So anyway, but yeah, that's the truth. That Peter, if you're listening, just Google that DC National Guard. They'll tell you all about it. So they have a whole lot of people. They have Air National Guard and Army National Guard. Trump is the commander of the District of Columbia National Guard. That's all I got. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot, Don. We're going to switch over to Steve Elkins. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yesterday, if I'd been available, I was working yesterday, so I caught the archives on it. Great show. I know that Donald Trump early on in the campaign had talked about reopening the investigation in 9/11. I know that's a touchy subject now with the election not too far off right now.
Yes.
But I would hope in his last term, in his second term, and his last term of being a lame duck president, he could really shake things up quite a bit. I mean, go for it. Just totally go for it. And really try to really expose the deep state, maybe who the individuals are of the deep state, and actually open up this investigation again, because it clearly the building number 7 is your is all the evidence you ever need that this thing was an inside job. It was definitely a controlled demolition, and I would like to see that happen if Trump gets a second term, to say go for it. You've got nothing to lose. You're not going to. There's no re-election for a third term, not possible. So just go for it. Take on the Fed. Take on the phony money system, take on everything you can, because the Democrats really, what's the point of attacking him again now? They're not going to get to remove him in 4 years. There's no way. I would just say go for it. I mean, really make a legacy for yourself, shake things up, really bring out the criminal element of government, try to bring back some transparency to government, and just go for it. Just go for it.
Well, the only issue I have with the new investigation by the government is it just gives them a chance to polish the lies a little more. And the only way we'd have a real investigation is if it was a completely independent body of people from outside the government, like Richard Gage, for example. And other than that, it's just again, the government's never going to admit that there was anything funny about 9/11 because it would delegitimize the entire government if the American people really had to confront the lie that was 9/11.
That is true. That is very true. Agreed. Yeah, they're not going to incriminate themselves and expose themselves. It would definitely have to be an outside agencies and several in the world to actually come together and do the investigation. But it would have to be recognized. The findings of experts. These people that in government who were part of the 9/11 Commission call themselves experts, but they excluded so much evidence and would not answer anything that that was a red flag. Wait a minute here. How is this possible? How is this possible? Why was the thermite in the concrete debris? I mean, these are serious questions that have to be answered. And when people dodge the question and dance around it, or just exclude it all the way altogether, that it was a cover up. It's something going on here, something very fishy, and they don't want to expose themselves. So I don't know. Maybe the world itself, the World Court or whatever, the World Investigative Court comes together and says, you know what, we'll exclude the government. You don't want to be part of it because you'd whitewash it anyway, just like you whitewashed that, and the Warren Commission was a whitewash and JFK's death. We'll just do our own investigation here, and we'll put it out there, and the American people will get it. The world will get the information. Just do it that way.
Well, I think we already have the broad strokes about 9/11, about why it was done and who was behind it, and the fact that we were lied to when it was blamed on Osama bin Laden and a bunch of other Middle Eastern people. It was described, as this generation's version of Pearl Harbor, to launch an era of endless wars, which we've certainly had since 2001. Anyway, Steve, anything else?
It's surprising that he didn't mention the Project for a New American Century, because there's your blueprint right there.
Yes, that is the blueprint right there.
That's it, Mike. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch to Mo in Florida. Hello, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Mike. I just had a little good news, maybe a very, kind of a local thing, but then I had a question for you. But first of all, I've noticed I live in an area in South Florida where there's a large Afro-American black population, whatever you want to say. I mean, it's not large, but, they are here. And I've never been treated better. I don't know, either on the phone or meeting them in person or somebody, down, the neighborhood grocery store. I think they're real. I think they could be I think this thing could be a silver thread in this, because I think the ones that are, doing these crimes are, they're the thugs, just like white thugs or whatever, thugs, and I've never, it's just almost like, I think what they think is they're not stupid. These people have jobs. They realize their towns have been, their businesses have been burned down, and they don't want this. They see what's going on. They're not stupid. And I just see good people. It's amazing, because I'm kind of almost expecting some kind of a negative reaction, and I'm seeing the lady that delivers the mail, just a sweetheart, and I see an improvement in attitude. And I guess I'm friendly, obviously, but it's not like I'm going up with a big smile. But it seems like they're going out of their way to say, hey, this ain't us that's doing this crap. So to me, I think Trump could get a huge black vote. I think it could be a record. Because, they don't want this stuff either, Mike.
Yeah. No, I know they don't. I mean, they don't want to be confused for the Antifa Black Lives Matter people.
No, I think it's they're smart. They know what's going on. They're not idiots. They got the internet. Well, one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I called in when Ryan Dawson had your show, and I know it's a little bit of a sore point. He kind of embarrassed you, and I think he embarrassed everybody. But I thought the guy, I've followed him for quite a while, and I thought he's a very smart guy. There's no question. But when I brought up the question about Building 7 and the implosion, the demolition, he got very defensive and very vague and almost hung up on me. Kind of cut me off. And what is this guy, a gatekeeper, Mike?
I don't know where he's coming from regarding 9/11. I'm aware that we obviously disagree on a lot of that. But again, he did embarrass Republic Broadcasting, and at least for the moment, he's banned from the airwaves from this venue. I don't know why he gets very defensive about the demolition issue when there's definitely so much evidence saying that, yeah, all three buildings were subject to controlled demolitions.
Yeah, somebody called in and really flipped out on him, and I know you know about it. He called him a gatekeeper, and I thought, what's this? I'm starting to think the guy that called in was right. So whatever it is, I'm here at Class Act, Mike, and he knows a lot better than to use that kind of language on your show. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he had to know that was his last time. And I don't know if the guy's under stress or he's a gatekeeper, but I'm just throwing that out there. And, it embarrassed me for you.
Well, I don't embarrass easily, thankfully. So, we just move forward and we keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Carl in Orlando. Hello, Carl. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
It's amazing to me to hear one good caller call in and say, we need to know who did 911. And
Yes.
The very next call you have is this regular on RDN that you have all the time, Steve Elkin. He wants to know how it was done. Isn't that a little bit odd? Isn't that a little obvious what's going on here? We have a who did it, and then immediately somebody calls in, and he's so interested in how it was done. Isn't that special? Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying here, but some people want the who and some people want the how. And some people want the why.
Well, if you want the how, you are a homo, okay? That's all I have to say to you. Because if you don't want to know who, there's something wrong with you, or you are part of that system. And that's all I have to say. These people that are on this RBN every day, this is what they do. They want to draw you away from who? It's always those same people. Who? And thank you, that one caller that called in and said that. But you're going to get a call from Steve Elkins or any number one of these other people that don't want to know who. And they're the destroyers. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the call. And we're going to be talking about the who both today and tomorrow here. So let's switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Mike? Mike, I wasn't even going to call today, but I just came, when we talked about Ryan Dawson and being 9/11 is tomorrow. I just thought I would comment. I've been following Ryan Dawson for a while, okay? First of all, the fact that he cursed in your show, remember, he's got a different kind of a show. He's got a YouTube show where, cursing is par for course. But besides that, Ryan Dawson, the reason why he gets so angry about people bringing up Building 7 and where the thermite may have been used or whatever else has been used is because his thing is it's virtually proven that there was a foreign intelligence service involved in 9/11, and that was Israel. The dancing Israelis were nothing more than a foreign intelligence service, and they're guilty. I mean, there's no question. How would they know? How would they know to set up to watch this thing just before it happened? Okay, and that they would have witnesses observing them.
Yes.
Right? And then cheering and yelling and cheering when these buildings went down, when the planes crashed into them. And they even said later on, when they unfortunately were released, that's Zirkov or whatever. I got a better name for him, but you don't want cursing on your show. So
nope.
When he released him, what? When he released him, but let's put it like this: I pronounce his name with a J. But anyway, he released him, and these guys would and they went back to Israel and they said, we just wanted to watch the event or something like that, participate. We wanted to.
They said the quote was, "Our job was to document the event."
Event, okay. Now, how would they know that event was going to happen unless they were involved? All right, and the only possibility, other than the Israelis were directly involved, is that they knew it was going to happen and didn't want to warn the United States, who was supposed to be their ally.
Well, you see, I think the United States and Israel worked together on 9/11. And that gets back to that whole secret service at Booker Elementary School.
Absolutely, Mike. I believe the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia were involved, and they don't want that to come out. All right. There were certain elements of the U.S. government and probably U.S. corporations that were involved. And that's why I think you get so excited when people start just concentrating on what
Okay.
happened.
All right, Mark, I'm going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. We're going to come right back to you after these words from our sponsors.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Mark in North Carolina. And Mark, if you could just sort of start up where you left off.
Yeah, about Ryan Dawson, why he gets so excited about, when people talk about Building 7 or where the thermite was used or whatever else. Because Ryan Dawson wants to get right to the part of it. You caught a foreign intelligence service. They're dancing Israelis with a Mossad agent. There's no question about it. All right? And they were there before this thing happened, and they, like you said, they said they were there to film the event when they went back to Israel. All right, now this is what he's trying to allude to, and he did all kinds of work to get the FBI to finally give up the files on the dancing Israelis.
Yeah.
Not that, there's anything, if there's any doubt about it, there is no doubt. The Israelis were involved, whether they were involved actually, or whether they wanted to, or whether they were just wanted to happen and knew it was going to happen and wanted to happen. But like you said, I believe this too, that both the United States, elements of the United States government, rogue elements, if you want to say, but that's a lot of the government, the Saudi Arabia, and Israel were involved. I also have a theory why Israel and Saudi Arabia seem to be so close, even with this new agreement they've made with the Gulf states and all that. My theory that there's some part of Judaism, maybe having to do with that, the Zohar, or what's that called, something with the Talmud or something like that, and Wahhabi Islam, not all of Islam, but Wahhabi Islam, basically tied into the Saudis. I believe there's a connection somewhere there. I don't know where, how. I've tried to look it up. Some people say it may have to do with, what's that, Khazaria, that they might have all come at one time. A lot of
Khazaria.
Including the Saudis. It might have something to do with Turkey, with the Turkic tribes that came and conquered a lot of Central Europe and Central Asia, back in, I don't know, 1,000 years ago or so.
Yes.
And or what it might be. Okay. I looked up something about the Khazarians. They were a tough, very fierce tribe that were animists first, and then they converted to Judaism, and they actually kept the Christians and the Islamists apart, so they wouldn't fight. They actually stopped Islam from spreading from that part of coming from the deserts of Saudi Arabia into Central Europe. They actually stood there as a buffer. And I don't know what happened. They seemingly the empire just folded at some point. I guess like most empires do. But I think there is some kind of tie in there. It may have to do with the Talmud and parts of the Quran. I don't know, but I suspect something, because now you see this new agreement they have. It just seems to me that they're too cozy together. I don't think this is something new what's going on now. I think this has been going on for a while. It was just a pretend thing that the Israelis and the Saudis hated each other, and they never had a war together, if you notice. There was never any war.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia never joined any of the wars, like in 48, 60, 67, 70, 73, or any of the other. The Saudis have never been involved in that. They've stated this. I suspect there might be something involved here. I don't know, Mike. I'm not a historical expert. I'm not a religious expert. Maybe somebody else would know. I don't know. But as far as Ryan Dawson, that's all he's trying to do. I just want to add one thing about Mattis. Understand something about Mattis, and also about I call him Petraeus, or General Bilderberg, because he goes to Bilderberg all the time, and also General Kelly. None of these guys were real combat veterans. Okay, they all became generals without it. They avoided the Vietnam War one way or the other. Either they were at the academy before, or or Kelly. I don't know how they just didn't send him for the 2 years. He was in for 2 years, so I assume he might have been drafted. And then he came in back later after the Vietnam War was over. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a combat soldier to be a good general. Eisenhower's a perfect example for that. One of the best generals we've ever had, and one of our best presidents, I believe, too. So it doesn't make, but these guys, Mattis was always made out to be this tough, mean, hardcore Marine general. He's nothing of the sort. I think he's basically a punk, and he's basically a globalist, New World Order type. Okay, just like Petraeus and to a lesser degree Kelly. Right? That's what I think of Mattis. Right? But people because he was very close, by the way, to Bill Kristol, because I remember Kristol tried to put him up in 2016 to run in a late point to run against Trump for the Republican nomination. But Mattis didn't get into it. But Trump stupidly fell for the nonsense. Oh, Mad Dog Mattis. I'm going to put Mad Dog Mattis in charge of the Defense Department. Fool Trump, you put a clown in there. Dangerous clown at that. That's basically all I want to say. I don't know whether I'm going to get any flack from any of the people that, maybe ex-Marines. I'm ex-Army myself. Doesn't really matter. Just because you served in the military doesn't make you Superman. That's all. Okay.
All right, Mark, we got to let you go. We got to take another commercial break here. We have another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. John Hess, 5 out of 5 stars. Awesome. Probably my only review, but at age 40, I was getting bad heartthrob and left arm pain, mainly before bed. I even stopped smoking and drinking sodas for a month, and that didn't work. After one day of taking Extendovite, it was gone and hasn't returned in 3 years. I've ordered Extendovite 13 times, so Amazon just said. Juliet Hordick. I've ordered this product before in liquid form. It is fantastic. My whole family's been on it. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey gang, Patrick Slattery here with an important message that is pertinent to anyone who shops for groceries, eats food, or just has an inquisitive mind like myself. What I'm about to introduce you to is a segment of our food culture that has been kept so low profile to the American public that virtually no one is aware of how dominant it is on our refrigerator and cupboard shelves. What I'm talking about is the kosher certification industry and a new app, Koshertified, that delivers a comprehensive education on all aspects regarding this little-known practice. After reviewing this app, I found that it is useful for practically anyone who purchases food, regardless of their religious faith or identity. Its database of products not kosher certified is a win-win convenience for all food-conscious people. So why not check out the kosherquestion.com or click on the link at nationalbugle.com and see how modifying your grocery shopping with the Koshertified app can make a huge difference for your future.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Kelly in Austin. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine. You're on the air.
Very good. Okay. With regard to the 911 issue, the debate between needing to know who did it or how they did it, or how it was done, you have to know both. If you can't, you can point your finger to someone all you want with regard to a crime such as that. But if you can't establish how it was done, you're not going to get a conviction. Let me liken this to the old Colombo program. Colombo figured out early on who did something, but he could never bring somebody in until they figured out how it was done. Recall that?
Yeah, I recall that. But
And
that's a TV show.
Pardon?
That's a TV show. And
I know, but it does get to my point here. And with regard to 911, we might suspect that the Israelis were involved in it, or somebody else was involved in it. But unless you can demonstrate how they did it, you're not going to get a conviction. They'll walk free. You got to be able to tie the two together.
Well, they've already walked free, and I don't think we're ever going to see them in jail. But what we're talking about here is public perception of 9/11, and that's really what the issue is all about. We're not talking about being able to go back and actually arrest people, put them in handcuffs, and march them off to jail. What we want to do is re-educate the public as to what actually happened on that day.
Well, I agree, but I'm a member of that part of the public who also wants to see people walked off to jail and executed for the stuff. Yeah, I agree. The public perception has suffered horribly over the years about that, and it's very important to re-educate the public here. But I mean, you can't just let it go there. Let it go at that, because these people are horrible criminals. They've got to be brought to justice. They've got to be sent to prison. They've got to be executed. I'm sorry, it's that simple. And when you can establish how it was done, then you can certainly get people to understand that this BS story that we've gotten from the government now since for 19 years is exactly that. It's just a pack of lies. It will certainly, I think, establish that there was a deeply rooted conspiracy to pull that off. That was a very good program yesterday, Mike. I think that hour was one of the best hours I've heard on your program in a very long time. And
well, thank you.
Many good ones, but that was very good. Thank you for having him on.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Steve in West Virginia. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah. Hey, Mike. How you doing? Listen, I got two things real quick. The first one's just a comment. I was listening to a program out in New York the other day, and they're talking about that there's some local poll within New York City that says Trump is within 4 points of winning that state. Is that believable?
Yes, that's very believable.
I think so. I think he's going to come close to winning California too. I don't, like I say, I don't know how they could steal the election from him. I think, the NSA or whoever's behind him, somebody's behind him, because he didn't get there by himself. The American people helped him, but somebody else, some type of intelligence agency or network is behind him. And, if they decide, like I said before on your show a couple of weeks ago, if they decide to cheat, everybody's just, their calculation is that the Democrats are going to cheat. But what happens if Trump cheats with the electronic voting? How are they going to, they can't figure that out. So I think, I don't know. And if there's something I just don't know about, it looks like Trump is going to walk away with this thing easily. If he's within 4 points of a New York poll. Mike, the other thing I want to say real quick, and then I'll get off the line for other colors. I think I told you before, I spent 6 years in the U.S. Marines as a combat engineer in an engineer battalion. And I got to agree with Mark from North Carolina. Most of the officers, especially the flag officers, once you get above lieutenant colonel, they're weenies. They sit in tents and drink scotch at night when we're out in the field. They're small and scrawny in stature. I'm not impressed with Mattis or any of these guys. I think the people's perception was all programmed into them from television. But these officers are weenies. We haven't won a war in a long time. They haven't done anything special. When we're out for PT and runs, enlisted people beat the hell out of them as far as physical fitness. So I just, yeah, they don't impress me at all. I don't, even when I go to the VA, if I deal with a former officer, I don't give them any more respect than I do to somebody that was an enlisted, somebody that was a private. So that's just what I want to say, Mike. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. The phone lines are now open, 800-313-9443. Getting on back to the war news, international news, if you will. Trump is claiming that the United States has a secret nuclear weapon capability that Russia and China don't even know exists. And he basically said, and this was part of his interview with Bob Woodward, I have built a weapon system that nobody's ever had in this country before. We have stuff that you haven't seen or heard about. We have stuff that Putin and Xi Jinping are unaware of. Maybe. It would certainly explain where some of that missing money has gone over in the Pentagon. We're talking trillions of dollars that were unaccounted for. All righty. Let's see. We have another caller on the line. Rick in Arizona. Hello, Rick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me, Mike?
I can hear you. You're on the air.
Okay. Yeah, I was just, you just mentioned Trump and his nuclear weapons program. All I got to say is, sure, Don. 9/11 goes. It's just going to be another year going by. Be the same crap. I just want to say one more thing before I get off the air. If you're going to vote for Trump, be prepared for this scorpion to sting you again. You know, Trump is the ADL audience, and before he came to power in the United States, everybody had freedom on the internet, and nobody has any freedom on the internet now. And if you reelect him, he's going to finish the job. You're going to find out all sorts of people are going to get shut down. Okay, maybe even
well,
people.
They're being shut down now, but they're being shut down by left wingers.
No, Trump is in charge here. Okay, Trump is.
I seriously doubt that.
Yeah, okay.
You know, Trump relied on a free internet to win in 2016, and I think he needs the free internet to win in 2020.
All you know, Mike, if you're going to vote for Trump, you're throwing the Palestinians under the bus. And you've been a big Palestinian promoter for years. Now you're just going to throw them under the bus. Trump's
well, I certainly can't see Biden in the White House or Kamala Harris as president.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're down to the lesser of two evils.
Don't vote. Vote for the National Justice Party, Mike Enoch, Eric Stryker, those guys. We need a new wave of people coming up from below. We don't need this crap anymore. Just don't vote. But wait for Trump. You vote for him, you're going to get stung again. The scorpion's on your back, you fraud.
All right. Well, thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Hello, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, you know my thing. You know, it's all same. Left, right, up, down. Doesn't matter who you vote for. The system will remain, guys. You guys are arguing. I'm going to vote for Biden. I'm going to vote for Trump. But you know what? Nothing has changed. You know, like if you look, the arrests, the indictments, they're not coming. Mattis is not. Come on, guys. Mattis. Yeah, Mattis is not going to be arrested. I mean, what world do you guys live in? You know? Hello? You think Mattis is going to be arrested, Mike? You think anything's going to happen to Mattis? He's part of the establishment. This all is the establishment, guys. I hate to break it to you, but, you know, before we were born, we had this kind of a system, you know, so nothing's going to be fixed, you know. Oh, by the way, Mike, you know, did you read that Zero Hedge report about how China is stockpiling, like, large amounts of commodities? Did you see that?
Yeah, I read that report. They're expecting a global crash.
Exactly. But you notice what has been created here? You know, like I look and I think, I'm like, you know what? We have this pandemic. I know some of your listeners think it's not as bad as, you know, as it is, but what, you know, we had basically a system that was basically, we could have built from that, right? Like we could, I mean, we know, like the masks, weren't they supposed to be all made here? All the masks being made here, all this other stuff. But you know what, Mike? I went to Walmart a couple of days ago.
Yes.
masks on the shelves, guess where they're made?
China.
Yeah, it's bunk. It's bunk, man. There's nothing. And you heard his talk today, right? The ventilators are all being made here. We're going to give them to, what, India?
Yep.
Right? I mean, this is all bunk, guys. The virus is real, but this is all, other than that, is bunk. Nothing, there's no manufacturing going on here. I mean, today, they didn't even vote. They voted, and it was dropped down. They didn't have enough votes to get any aid to us. The suckers and the chumps, Mike. You saw that, right? They basically threw us under the bus, Mike.
Yes.
They basically, you know that, right? Like, they basically didn't vote on a bill to get any money out for it's a 20% unemployment rate. It's not, Mike, do you actually think it's like a 4%? It's 20%.
No, I don't. We know the unemployment numbers have been rigged going back for years and years because the long-term unemployed are put in a separate category.
And Mike, that was going on since the financial crisis, 2008. So we know that.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
But I'm saying, like, they just walk away. And what about the people who are, like, in bad shape? Unemployment, like being kicked out. And, they put a moratorium, I think they talked about that earlier. Some of your listeners are on people being evicted.
Yes.
But is that being enforced? They're just being kicked out.
Well, we don't know if it's being enforced or not. I mean, they've got the moratorium there, and supposedly there are serious penalties for landlords who break that. But again, we don't know how effective that's being. But we're looking at something like 50% of American households are not meeting their bills right now.
Yeah, how are you supposed to have a stable economy then? Like the whole system, like is FUBAR.
Prior to the economic crisis in 2008, 60% of our economy was consumer spending. And now, of course, consumer spending has completely and utterly collapsed.
That's right, Mike. Consumption, it's the gears in the gear system. If the gear stops, and I think that's where we're at. I think this country, if you look at China, Mike, they already recovered from this virus, basically. Their GDP was up. Ours is not recovered. And then just if you think about it, our manufacturing was this crap to begin with, right? It's like there's just nothing being fixed or improved. What happened to the infrastructure bill, guys? Again, infrastructure bill, arrest, indictments, this, that. Nothing's going on. It's not going to go on with Biden. It's not going to go on with Trump. And that's why I keep saying I'm staying home, because the system is finished. What as we know it as a system, Mike, is done.
It's coming apart. It's coming apart. We have to start thinking, there's going to be a new nation forming in this land, and we'd better be the ones in charge of setting it up.
And before I'm going to call tomorrow, talk about coronavirus. About Britain, they have the whole no more 50 people gathering at 6 because it's spreading over here again. And winter's coming, guys. Mike, you and your wife, Mark, Tom, Joe, Don from Arizona, get your crap in order for the winter. Okay?
Yes.
Because it's the unknowns. Isn't that what Donald Rumsfeld said? The known unknowns? We don't know.
Or the unknown unknowns. Well, I think it's going to be an early and hard winter, so we're getting ready.
Yeah. Mike, have a good night.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Jim in New York. Hello, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I totally agree with Rick in Arizona. I think after Trump's reelected, which I think he will be, we're really going to get stung bad by Trump. As I've always said, my thought is I think Trump was selected, and it was to put people to sleep, particularly the middle America. And I think the establishment, or at least some of the establishment, wants Trump. These riots are actually helping Trump.
Yes, they are.
The the intelligence agencies, I believe, behind these fake events, the George Floyd fake, to get people riled up and to create these riots. And I think that helps Trump. So I think at least some people in the intelligence agencies want Trump to win. And, I will give some credit to Trump. I'm a big critic of him. I won't vote for him or Biden. I'll vote for a third party, the most anti-war third party there is. But I do agree with him on calling the media fake news and the enemy of the people, because they really are fake news. And it's incredible how they can whip up riots anytime they want. They can take an incident in Rochester that happened in March, and they can just pull it off the shelf, show a video on all the networks, and there's your riots. And,
Yeah, that was kind of suspicious the way that happened. Anyway, Jim,
I have another point, if I could.
all right, well, then stay on hold. Don't hang up. We'll come back to you after the word from our sponsor.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. John Hess, 5 out of 5 stars. Awesome. Probably my only review, but at age 40, I was getting bad heartthrob and left arm pain, mainly before bed. I even stopped smoking and drinking sodas for a month, and that didn't work. After one day of taking Extendovite, it was gone and hasn't returned in 3 years. I've ordered Extendovite 13 times, so Amazon just said. Juliet Hordick. I've ordered this product before in liquid form. It is fantastic. My whole family's been on it. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hear ye, ConstitutionOnTrial.com presents the most important question for our generation. Is the United States Constitution biblical? Witness the prosecution and defense of the United States Constitution on trial, live and unscripted at the Maranatha Retreat Center in Everton, Missouri, and streamed live on YouTube. For the prosecution, Ted Weiland, pastor, Bible teacher, and author of Bible Law versus the United States Constitution, The Christian Perspective. Versus for the defense, Brent Allen Winters, a practicing lawyer and author of Excellence of Common Law in Light of History, Nature, and Scripture. Is the United States Constitution biblical? Live and unscripted at the Maranatha Retreat Center in Everton, Missouri, and live streamed on YouTube. Saturday, September 19th from 6:30 till 9:30 p.m. Come one, come all. This most important event is free to attend and streamed live on YouTube. Go to ConstitutionOnTrial.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
Welcome back to our show here. We're finishing up with Jim in New York. You had one more point to make?
Yeah, I give credit to Trump, the fake media, the enemy of the people. And I think he underestimated. You know, they keep selling this narrative, how, you know, blacks are victims of crime. It's really the other way around. But, you know, if you control the media, you control the mind. Even some of your callers, like the New Yorker who lives in North Carolina, like every time a black criminal gets shot, whether real or fake, he always calls in, you know, whining about it. But he's being led by the nose by what the media tells him to get all upset about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you remember the story, the woman Ashley Anderson, 20-year-old girl, and her father murdered by a black in South Carolina over a fender bender.
Yes.
Media totally blacked it out. And the New Yorker in North Carolina, he'll never call and complain about that. You know, so we're being led, even some of your audience, ignore the media. The media assume it's all fake news. Assume it's fake because they tell you what to get upset about and what to ignore. And Tom's right. Tom in Florida is right. Sadly to say, black crime has been through the roof for decades. And the black on non-black rapes, it's in the thousands. So the TV is all lies. And on that note, thank you for taking my call and have a great day.
Thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Ramon in Texas. Hello, Ramon. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Doing fine.
Hey, I just had one quick, I guess, idea. And actually, I've got two or three, but let's go over the first one.
We're almost out of time here, so
thing
no
about-
rush.
Right. So the thing about the voting and the fraud and the riot and the take over the government and all that other stuff could be easily resolved. There's a system that the military has in place for voting from abroad when you're serving abroad, and it's very much utilizable for recognizing every vote and counting every vote, and having people only vote once, and so on and so forth. So if we wanted to settle this, all Trump would have to do is just institute that executive order or whatever, and then there wouldn't be any questions, and you actually get the results instantaneously. So.
Well, we certainly
my
need to
thought for
do
the day.
something because our voting system is an absolute joke. And of course, the people who profit from our voting system being as messed up as it are, they don't want to change the system. Anyway, Ramon, thank you for the call. We got to let you go. And my apologies to the callers waiting online who didn't get on the air, but we have run out of time. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN, spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We need your help to keep doing what we're doing. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.